Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing the president's speech. And before the break, we're talking about how people felt that the speech, when the president speaks, it's supposed to be this Santa Claus or Father Christmas coming to just want to give us something. And forgetting the role that we play, I was responding to you saying, I remember when we had a guest last week, Mr. Bakari, who was saying the real value of Naira is supposed to be between 650 to 700. But the truth is that we Nigerians, I always go, the middle class who has small Naira in their accounts have mopped up the dollars because they want to change all the Naira to dollars. We are part of the, so because of that, it got a spike. And now we're saying, oh, dollar is the Naira is the 1,000 Naira. Why? Because the real value that we've seen based on the real indices shouldn't have gone past 700. But many people started converting all their Naira because they don't want to lose the value. So we also are part of the problem, whether we like to believe it or not. So the truth is that as Nigerians, what else, how should we see the president's speech, and how do we see our own role in being part of this solution?
No, that's not a fair assessment to say Nigerians quickly mopped up the little Naira that they have. We have people who are in places of leadership who would not use what we have here, who would prefer to convert, get the forex and do medical tourism outside. They will do education outside. They do everything outside. We're not looking at those.
Now.
But that's not what you mentioned. You mentioned just the middle class, people who have a few Naira in their account,
part of the problem.
mopping up. But I don't even think that is the problem. So they're not able to mop if there were policies, right policies preventing that. People would always take advantage of the loopholes the government presents.
Doesn't make it right.
No, it doesn't make it right. But then government has a responsibility to block those loopholes. That's why you're government. That's why in a place of leadership, everybody cannot be a leader. So if you're a leader, when you do things right, people will not have an avenue to do things wrong. You do your job, everybody does their job. But what I'm saying in essence is we need to open a conversation to say the gift you think we are expecting government to give us is not a gift, it's ours. It belongs to us. It belongs to the nation. The revenue that we get, the tax, everything belongs to the nation. So if you see that your people are suffering and you decide, I want to do this and that to sort of help them, it's not a gift you are giving to anybody. You're not giving us a gift. Okay. It belongs to the nation.
I beg to disagree, because if we look at it as gifts, this entitled mindset of Nigerians is why we're here. Nigerians don't want to live within means. Nigerians want to mop it up, convert your Naira to dollar and save it. So you have more money when you need to change it to do the, what exactly are our needs? What exactly are our needs? If government is providing, cheaper transport by electric buses and CNG buses, those are our needs. Move around, do your daily businesses. But the excess that will make you bigger, that's what you're looking at. The palliatives government is giving out to 15 million households. How much are our needs, basic needs? Nigerians are no longer waiting for those things and saying, if you say government should give you this thing as a national cake, from which source?
Exactly.
Based on which petrol that we're selling? We must face the realities that we have on ground for us to begin to talk this talk. I believe that government is presently looking at tax reforms. They're looking to, expand tax nets. They're giving some form of palliative to producers. They're giving to our manufacturers. They're giving, whatever they are doing is going to help us adjust in 6 months. Whatever the inabilities, inadequacies of the CNG buses should be done and done with. They say they're bringing the conversion kits. In 6 months, we should be seeing the reality of the buses everywhere. I traveled to Ghana 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And they were already using CNG buses and converting the buses.
All right, let me bring in our guest. He is the former Executive Vice Chairman, Presidential Tax Team on Restoration of Sanity to the Lagos Port Access host, Dr. Kayode Opeifa. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you with us. You've been hearing and listening to our conversation concerning the president's speech. Let me start with your own general review of his speech, and then we'll discuss the other angles. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, and let me say congratulations to Nigerians. At least in recent times, we are privileged to have a presidential independent speech that speaks to everybody. This speech is just about 30 paragraphs, was well crafted and very honest. The president was honest in that speech. It laid bare on Nigerians the state of the nation. What will have required about 30 pages of write-up he made it in 30 paragraphs. To begin, he acknowledged the founding fathers of this country, at least for us all to appreciate, and for those who don't understand history, to understand the fact that we started somewhere. He went through what we all describe as a diversity, and he relates how this actually should be addressed. Then he went further to acknowledge that there are issues, especially arising from some of the decisions the presidency has taken. That is being honest and sincere. And he explained why it has to be that way and pleaded with Nigerians to bear with him. He used some analogies that are scriptural, but he avoided being labeled as talking from any part of the religious sector. When he alluded to the issue of building the foundation on the mud, rather, he would rather do what is what the future. He went further. He spoke to the National Assembly. He spoke about the legislature. He also spoke to the judiciary. He commended them for what they have been doing to this government. He also addressed the issue of the civil societies and the media combined. So what you have in this speech is a speech that talks to the poorest of the poor, to the middle class, to the rich Nigerians, to the industrialists, and to everybody. He highlighted some of the decisions he has taken, which Nigerians may think are somehow painful. He acknowledged it and said he's not surprised that they are painful. But what he's sure of is that it's a matter of time, that this is the path we ought to have taken, this is the path we should take, and he's ready to take that path because he's sure of the outcome. He highlighted some of the way forward on this reform. And about 5 or 6 of them, he talks about the fiscal and monetary policy to fight inflation. This is critical. Nigerians are complaining of economic hardship, the rising cost of the dollar to the naira, and the impact of fuel subsidy removal. You remember the phrase subsidy is gone. He acknowledged he made those statements out of genuine hope for Nigeria. And he highlighted what he would do, fiscal monetary policy reform. He talked about savings for the future, today and for the future. He talked about directive to state government to roll out palliative. He talked about the social net being increased almost by 100% from 8 million to 15 million.
Right.
And he also alluded to the fact that the disbursement will start sometimes in
Dr. Opeifa, let me get you a few questions.
Dr. Opeifa.
The major issue affecting us, that is the energy sector, where the cost of transportation arising from the subsidy removal is an issue. He talked about the CNG buses.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that these buses should have been on the road, but for procurement process. So he's a man of law. He acknowledges the difficulty and what the government is going through. So this is what leaders ought to expose to their followers. I'm doing my best. I'm trying my best, but I have challenges. These are my challenges, but I don't see them as a problem. I see them as opportunity to move. He has done that. And he went down the talk about these
all right, let me get a few questions in for you.
Which, what do you call it, minimum wage matter. But that everybody will get 25,000, which has now been clarified to be 35,000. And if to some people, 100%, to some it is 50% of their current wage, to some it is 20%. My own calculation, apart from the permanent secretaries and those on level 17, this is a minimum of 20% dash for the next 6 months. And at least this will take us before the new minimum wage.
All right.
And from what we also see from this speech actually addressed a lot of the issues being raised by labor. So this
well, I like to say there's some critics.
Everything acknowledges its own issues, and it shows clear sincerity of purpose.
Okay.
Dr. Opeifa, so I heard you. I would like you to, to maybe dispel the distrust some Nigerians have in the palliatives going around. So, the president had promised to reach out to certain businesses, about 75 of them, with £1 billion grant to assist those businesses. He's also talked about reaching 15 million households. Nigerians, because of distrust, have criticized to say that this is just big boy sharing money largesse for the big boys, or political support. What do you say to this?
Yeah, thank you very much. What I did not mention earlier was to say that you also talked about the social redistribution of wealth. You see, whether we like it or not, we are not the same. Some who got those palliatives will be happy. Those who don't get it will not be happy. The distrust in the social register, I'm going to put it more on the media because we need to manage situation. There is no way you do a social register in a country that is still grappling with social identity and you think it's going to be perfect. People will continue to complain as long as we don't implement the policies the way it is meant to be implemented. I believe most of the complaints on the palliatives are coming from the way it is being implemented. I'm not trying to speak for the president or apportion blame. I think you should put those blames on the state governments and the local governments who have the responsibility to do that part. The responsibility of the president and the presidency at the center is to put down the policy. We have 5 billion naira. We are releasing 2 billion naira from the infrastructure fund. In the meantime, you have to go to your states, you have to go to the local governments, get the people, find a modality to do so. We should address the state governments and the local governments on this. And that is where we have different tiers of government and different responsibility. We have heard this, and it's terrible. The way the palliative is being managed, I mean, the food aspect of the palliative is not that perfect in many states. Some states have done it well. People have mentioned Borno State. We have a perfect, not perfect, a near perfect, something reasonable way of doing it. So we need to appeal to the state governments and to the local governments chairman. They need to do the right thing. They must do the palliative in such a way that our people are treated. You don't need to give palliative to me. I can survive. But people like us should be able to also support where we can support. The palliative should go to people who need it, people who should be given, and should be given to them in a dignified manner. And it should not also be done in a way that it will also affect the cost of foods in the market. I think on that area, Nigerians are, and the president addressed it. He mentioned that he's aware of the issues, and he also informed that the states are directed or have been mandated or have taken up the responsibility to handle this. I think that should be directed at the state governments. And I'm joining other Nigerians, and I also want to appeal to the media on this social register thing. Look, I was involved in some of the trader money computation. I was probably asked to help with the transport sector, and I told the presidency, it doesn't make sense if you are going to give people in the transport sector 10,000 naira. But 6 months after, we were approached again, and we were able to get 35,000 genuine transport operators in Abuja, Federal Capital Territory. We couldn't get the one of Lagos because of so many controversies and that of Kano.
All right, I need to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about what the critics are saying concerning the president's speech. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. We still have Dr. Opeifa here with us. Dr. Opeifa, many of the president's critics have said that his speech was bereft of substance or ideas or anything, just more promises. You know, that he didn't really give anything tangible, besides obviously of the 35,000 naira for labor. But what are your thoughts on those who said that it was just a bunch of promises? We don't even know how far they're going to go in actually delivering on these promises he's made.
I didn't get you right.
Some of his critics have said the speech was bereft of substance and were mostly promises. And there were no indications of when these promises would actually materialize. So what are your views on that? Okay,
that's not surprising. Critics will always find something to say. The important thing is, does the speech speaks to Nigerians and majority of Nigerians? Yes. A 30-paragraph speech cannot be expected to delve into the nitty-gritty of how it will be done. Immediately after the speech, you are aware the Labour met with some people in the presidency, and some clarifications were also made yesterday. And that is what will happen. After the speech, the various policy implementers will spring into actions. And we have just been informed that the wage augmentation is going to everybody. Now it is 35,000 naira. That is left for the civil, the bureaucrats to perfect. It's not the job of the president in the speech to start explaining. So I think they are just doing the job they are expected to do. Critics are expected to criticize.
All right.
And that is also work. And it's also another way for the presidency too, to know that people are listening and they're interested in more details. So I am not surprised. I think that is expected. But for me, I think that speech is directed to all Nigerians, and including those who live in the presidency or not.
Right.
Okay, would it be also good to say that the speech should have added a bit of timelines to the implementation? Because Nigerians are worried that we have some of these good things that the president wants to do to solve the issues we have in the country, but there are no timelines. How long do we tighten this belt? When are we going to get this hope? When is it going to materialize? Should that have been added in some of the things that the government is planning to do for Nigerians?
I think that's another beauty of the speech, that Nigerians are asking for timeline. That means they love the speech, they accepted the speech, and they expected results. And they're asking the presidency now, what are the timeline? That is going to come by the bureaucrats who are expected to carry out. The president mentioned in his speech that there are some reforms that are going on. He also explained in the speech that he has set up a lot of committees. He mentioned the tax reform committee without mentioning the PCNG initiative committee. He mentioned the PCNG issue. He mentioned the social safety net that is under the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs. So those are the people that will come forward and provide timeline if necessary and if available. Then what is important is that the speech is eliciting comments, and that is what a speech is expected to do.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Opeifa. Let me let you go at this point. Appreciate your inputs this morning. I know that we wanted to say a few more things on the speech because I know Nigerians are still discussing it. Before the break, at some point, we're talking about the middle class. You always accusing middle class.
Middle class.
But I think one of the things I'd like to highlight before I leave is the fact that to further explain to you why I always blame the middle class. When the president recently allegedly got the Dubai ban lifted, like they allegedly removed the restriction of Dubai, we saw on social media, everybody was excited on social media, people were talking, everybody was speaking English, oh my goodness. And I thought critically to myself, this lift that they do, or they plan to do, how does it affect the woman I said in Bali? How does it affect the bus driver? How does it affect those guys on the streets? Those of us, middle class, who are on the social media, were so excited. I'm talking, I think the whole nation was excited. But the whole nation wasn't excited because the majority are not on social media. The majority are on the streets hawking. The majority are on the streets. So these are the ones that, and my point is that this middle class, us, we carry our money to Dubai, but we need dollars. But yeah, I will have to change my naira to dollar to travel to Dubai. What are you doing? I am still mopping up the dollar, the small dollar that we have. And that has an effect. Let me finish. That has an effect on the driver, on the hawkers, on the real Nigerians. It has a serious effect. So we are being selfish when we are here excited about, the ban. How does it affect the people on the street, the real Nigerians? So the point is, I'll let you respond. Yeah. The point is that when we are all saying this excitement, how does it do we truly care about those guys on the streets? We don't. We only care about our ability to be able to go to Dubai.
We will care to the best of our caring, but we will not over-care more than the government, because you forget that all fingers are not equal. And people would work based on the level that they find themselves. So you are telling somebody who is excited that they've lifted Dubai ban should not be excited because somebody else is selling bole on the streets. It's the job of the government to cater for the person that's selling bole. Because, no, hold on. Even in my excitement, I have my constituency that I'm catering for. I cannot cater for the whole Nigeria. That's not my job. No. Understand what I'm trying to say. I cannot cater for everybody because it's not my job. The people who have been elected to do that job should do that job. I am doing my own bits by catering for my immediate environment and doing all the giftings that I do and all of that. That's my own bit. But don't give me government's responsibility and blame me for what is going wrong in the country. You cater for your people, I cater for my own. If you need us to meet, they've said now that sometimes, do you know how many times you go to the bank and you don't get the USD? You don't get it, and nobody dies. Nobody kills anybody. We move on to that. But governments must make sure that the poor and vulnerable are well taken care of.
The consequence
it's not my job.
This taste is the lack or the scarce resources. Dollar is not plenty. It's not available. But the taste of the middle class is to go to Dubai. Dubai, no, they give anybody still. They only give work permits and they give you visas to come and use their facilities or their tourist facilities, you pay. And you've just mopped out the dollar that will be scarce, further, making the naira weak. Yeah. You're not thinking of that consequence. If you give up that taste and travel within the country to other tourist attractions within the country, will it not trickle down? It will create employment for Nigerians, and are we looking at it that way?
Wow.
We can't be selfish and be Nigerian.
Wow. So for me, that's not hold on now. We the middle class, hold on. How many percent is this middle class you're talking about? When the middle class decides to cater for the rest of Nigerians by not traveling, the leaders who have the sole responsibility will travel and allow the middle class to be doing their job.
All of us now join.
Politicians.
No.
All of us now.
Please.
The Nigerian who insist on importing their food, saying that their taste is no longer Nigerian, it has to be foreign. That Nigerian who is using his scarce resources to go and feed.
We have to wrap up. But you see, the reason why I had to highlight that, because I like to continually remind Nigerians.
I agree with that point.
With Nigerians that we have a role. Because let's not wait for Santa Claus to come and give us doing his speeches. This is what I'm dashing you. He's not dashing us anything. We also have a responsibility to this. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that we are all part of this problem. We must acknowledge it. That's my issue. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll bring in the minister to tell us exactly what her plans are concerning humanitarian. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.